Ready? Let's go. So, welcome, first and foremost, welcome to episode 4 of Out the Mud podcast, man. Huge shout out to, everybody that's been tuning in, that's been showing love, you know what I'm saying? Especially over these last couple episodes. This is just something new I'm kind of starting right now. This video is more centered around because I'm gonna give you a little backstory. So the reason why I felt like this was necessary was a couple things. One was because 4 is one of 2 of my favorite numbers. So I'm gonna start with that. 4 is special to me. My other favorite number is 9 for obvious reasons, but 4 is a very special number to me. I was the 4th on my line. Obviously I'm a member of the greatest fraternity, no disrespect to the D9 and the other sororities and fraternities that I've had the pleasure of networking and engaging with, but I'm a proud member of the greatest fraternity of all time, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, established in Ithaca, New York in 1906, or as we like to say, Who 6? So I'm Alpha Zeta chapter, the 28th house. Shout out to my bros in West Virginia State University. I was the 4th on my line. I was one of 4. I was the 4. I was the tail. So shout out to my clubs, my tails. I felt like this episode was gonna be dedicated to that. Now, you know what I'm saying? I definitely wanted to jump in this podcast space for a few reasons. I've contemplated about it. I've thought about it a lot, especially as last year I was doing with just the regular videos, just posting them about football, because obviously majority of the people that follow me, majority of the people that know me, they know that I'm a coach, former coach. So I'm big into football, I'm big into sports. So I decided that, I'm going to turn it up a little bit. I'm going to turn it up a little bit this season. I'm going to come with something different. So I said I'm going to come with, a different twist, So I think the podcast space is necessary, you know what I mean? And I chose Out the Mud because I feel like that if there's anybody that knows, about me or knows that, that knows me personally, they know that my story is crazy. And, I felt like that for me to do this, to have this platform, to talk to people, to invite people into, my circle, to let them share their story, to let them share their stories amongst the followers that I have, for the people that are going to be interested in watching this. And I appreciate y'all, everybody that's tuning in so far, that's showing me love. Please continue to like, subscribe, continue to comment, show love, good and bad. Any feedback is good feedback, because I'm a big component of constructive criticism. I want to get better at this. It's a work in progress every single day, but I always dictate 1 hour. I say I'm gonna dictate at least an hour a day, minimum, an hour a day to this platform. So I appreciate all y'all for tuning in. Out the Mud podcast now on Instagram. Apple Music is coming, Spotify is coming, but I just wanted to jump on here because I feel like it was necessary for this being the 4th episode for one of my favorite numbers is 4, to just tell y'all how I got it out the mud. And this is going to be a genuine, dialogue, between myself and y'all, just to let y'all know about my story, man. I mean, I feel like it was selfish of me to bring people on to tell their story without giving you the background of my story. So, for me, I mean, where do I start, right? I mean, let's start about the people that's behind me. I got I'm in my house right now. I got, my pictures of the people that, have meant a great deal to me getting it out the mud and me getting to where I am right now. and trust and believe this is not the only people. So let me preface those comments. I mean, I got a number of people that have been a part of my life and a part of my story, but these people have made that have done the most, for me. And these are just people that I could fit on my wall right now. But it's growing every day. I mean, I'm gonna start from your right, my left. This is my pops. To my left, he. I mean, it's not much I can really say, about him. Only from the standpoint of like, I'm just super appreciative to say that like, I'm one of the few people that can say that I'm 29 years old and I have a father. That's no knock to anybody that doesn't have a father, or that is fathers that's battling through things and adversities, trying to learn how to be a father. But where I grew up and how I grew up, to have a father, to know a father, and just the generation that we have right now, and this generation of young African American men, and even African American women, to not have a father or to not know their father, I really, that really hits a different nerve for me. So like, the good and the bad and ugly, I mean, he's been through it all. I mean, this man right here to my left has been through it all. He's been through the ups and the downs. When I say the downs, I mean the downs. And I was there to witness a lot of it, from, having to, live in our grandmother's house, his mom's house, God rest her soul, Lizzie Spencer. She took us in, and we lived with her pretty much my entire life up until high school. I mean, she was a warrior. She was a pillar to our family on that side. But my pops, he got it out the mud for real. Like he did things, and I watched him do things that I know in his heart he didn't want to do, but he had to do. And I always never took it for granted. You know what I'm saying? For what he did for me, and the thing he taught in me, and the thing I took from him and he instilled in me. He said one thing to me as a youngin'. He told me, be better than him. He didn't say he wanted me to get a degree. He didn't say he wanted me to play football, because I'm a first generation graduate and I'm a first generation athlete in my family. I mean, I didn't grow up with the uncles and the pops and this and that was, that was athletes that the genetics just hit, and I just know, like when I say I got it out the mud, I got it out the mud because he didn't do that. I mean, he was in the streets, he was, thugging, he was locked up, he was doing his thing, but he also worked for the city. He also, made sure at the end of the day, regardless if I ate or if he didn't eat, he made sure I ate. So in that regard, I'm appreciative of him to still be around to this day. I mean, to this day, he's still, is right there, is the right hand to everything that I do. And I said it, when it comes my time to finally lock in and get with a special female, he's gonna be my best man if he's still around. He's gonna be my best man because, I took a lot of my work ethic and a lot of my initiative, and the reason why I'm even doing this right now is solely because of him, because he built that into me. He grinded. I remember, and this is an open forum for me to explain and give y'all a background of how I got it out the mud, right? So I've never shared this with anybody, but I'm gonna share it to y'all. I was probably like 7, 8 years old maybe, and this is how much my pops was like fighting for me. My mom's at the time, but we're going to get to her in a second. My mom at the time was dealing with somebody else, right? His name was Troy. I'll never forget it. My mom was dealing with somebody else, and they was trying to move to Ohio. And moving to Ohio, my pops, at the time, he lived in Delaware. So he was like, yo, you're not about to take my son to Ohio. Like, you're not about to do that. And my pops was still trying to figure out his situation. He was in the military. He got out on honorable discharge. And he was like, yo, you're not about to take my son. Like, I'm not letting that happen. So in Wilmington on Rodney Square, I'll never forget it, we went to the courthouse. And I'm like, I might even be younger. I think I'm probably like 5, 6 years old. Um, he come and he basically is like, yo, I need you to go in the courtroom. This is me at like 5, 6 years old. I need you to go in the courtroom and tell the judge that you want to stay with me, just so I can have custody, so that you ain't got to go to Ohio and move and create a whole new life without me. So what I do, I went to the courtroom in Rodney Square, sat in front of the judge. Old white lady. I tell her, I say, I love my dad and I want to be with him, and that's what it is. Long story short, he ends up winning the case, and my aunt, or rather, my dad gets custody of it. So this is me at 5, 6 years old speaking to a judge. My livelihood, my parentalhood, everything is solely based on a 5, 6 year old dealing, because my peoples was never married. My mom and dad was never married. I never had the luxury of having, a 2-parent household, mom and dad married. Never had that. So it solely was on me having to go in the courtroom and say, this is what it is. I want to be with my pops. And sure enough, he won the case. And I live with my pops. My mom was upset, obviously, for obvious reasons, because she wanted to start a whole new life. But I'm like, I can't leave my pops, because I know all the things that me and him went through to get to this point. So, you know what I'm saying? From there, I stayed with him. You know what I mean? I would stay with him for, weekends, every other weekend. You know what I'm saying? When he was living with his mom, my grandmother, God rest her soul, Lizzie Spencer. And that was what that was. So my pops is always going to be my day one, regardless whether I agree or disagree with everything he's done and things like that. He's always going to be my day one. And I'm always going to appreciate and love him for what he provided for me and what he taught me about doing it the hard way and being a man, because I'm still living that truth today. And that brings me to my second photo of my aunt. My aunt and uncle, my aunts and my uncle. The one in the middle is my Uncle Daryl. The reason why I chose Alpha, he's Xi Beta. Shout out to Xi Beta in Troy. My aunt I'm next to is my Aunt Hera Rice Smith, who is a doctor, PhD. She is right now one of the biggest names in the state of Delaware, because she does community engagement and community relations and building, the inner city, trying to develop the inner city, you know what I'm saying, and doing that. And they've been married since I've been on this earth. They've been married for 29 years. I was at their wedding as a youngin', crying at their wedding. They got the video and everything. And then the one in the red vest I consider her my second mom. This is my Aunt Cheryl. My Aunt Cheryl is like, when I say she's my second mom, she stepped in when, my mom was going through her situation, battling MS, which is multiple sclerosis, which is a very underrated disease that a lot of people don't pay attention to, because, obviously it's cancer, and, cancer is like the huge name that's out there now. But multiple sclerosis, if there's anybody right now that is battling multiple sclerosis or has family members battling multiple sclerosis, I am very empathetic with you, sympathetic, because I went through it, my mom went through it, and I know the difficulties that come along with it. So, I understand what you guys are going through. And if you ever need anybody out there that's got somebody that's got MS that needs to just have somebody to talk to about how they deal with it, please reach out to me, because I am 100%, locked into trying to figure out how can we broaden the microscope and awareness to multiple sclerosis, because it's a disease that very silently is killing a lot of our people. So for these people behind me, they really they meant a lot. They meant a whole lot to what I got going on. My Aunt Hera, to my left, she was, and I said this to them, when my mom was going through her thing and when it was, time to call her home, I told them, I said, my mom couldn't be there, but my peoples fill voids. They fill voids that my mom couldn't. So for my aunt, Hera, she was the one that was very education based, always had me in the library, always had me reading books, always had me trying to, helping me with my homework and things like that. Christmas came around, it wasn't toys, it wasn't clothes, it wasn't this, it wasn't that. It was books. You know what I'm saying? She was giving me books. She was keeping my mind sharp. She would take me to the Barnes and Noble every Thursday to do work. You know what I'm saying? Do my homework. She was always on me about, making sure I'm applying for colleges when I got to high school. She was always on me about making sure my GPA was high. She was the first one to introduce me to financial aid and student loans and how to deal with student loans. She was that. Like, she was locked in when it came to education. She did not play no games. And that's why I felt like it was necessary. And she's like a second mom too, for sure. But, you know what I'm saying? It was more or less that she was doing a lot of the things that my mom couldn't do. And then you got my Uncle Daryl, who is the reason why I chose Alpha. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he was the guy that introduced me to what fraternity looks like, what fellowship looks like, what brotherhood looks like. He was the first person I got on a plane with, including my Hera, but he was the first person I got on the plane with. He was the first person that, you know what I'm saying, was there for when I was actually getting some buzz in high school, doing the recruitment visits. This is before Huddle, this is before Twitter, this is before, social media. He was that guy. And the thing I appreciate the most about Uncle Daryl is, like, my pops and my uncle are damn near, like, they pretty much are the same age. So they grew up kind of together. So it's almost like a mutual respect thing. Like, my dad didn't know how to do the whole football recruiting thing. So he relinquished that responsibility to my Uncle Daryl. And my Uncle Daryl, who also has children, was like, I'm going to do what's best for my nephew because he's my only nephew on my wife's side because I'm the only child. And he was like, I'm going to step into that role and I'm going to handle that business because I know his pop can't. So it was almost like a collective agreement between them that said, we're going to do whatever we need to do as men to make sure that I get to the next level I need to be at. So I appreciate my uncle for that. And he the reason I chose Alpha. Solely the reason I chose Alpha, because he's Xi Beta and he leads by example. And every time we go to homecoming, he gets hella respect. And he's, even though he tells me the same, every time I see him, it's just like y'all old heads. Y'all see them, they say the same story, they tell the same story, and you like, yo, like, all right, I heard it before. Like, yeah, I remember you told me that. But he always makes sure that it's consistent and that the love is always there, and he's always giving me a gem. It's always a gem when I'm with him. Every time I see him, it's a gem. So anybody that's got an uncle like that, do not take it for granted, because, like, this man right here, right, this man right here is about, I would say, 65% of the reason of why I'm sitting in the position I am right now to be able to talk to y'all and share this information. Because he made a commitment, even though he's got 2 sons, he made a commitment to say, I'm going to put in some investment and some time to my nephew to make sure he's going to follow that same path. And I sure enough did. So I'm appreciative of him. And I know his story. He got his out the mud. He's one of like 8 kids. So being said, he got his out the mud too. Now, with my Aunt Cheryl, she is like my whole heart. Like, I've never, ever seen a woman do the things that she's done personally, what I'm saying, for the long period of time that she's done it. I mean, she is by far the gold standard of what an independent black woman is. For her to do what she's done, for her to be a single, black woman in America. She's tried the relationship thing, she's done her due diligence to try to, be something with somebody, but I'm sorry, excuse my language, she's a fucking dog. Like, when I say a dog, she is a dog. And If you get the opportunity of any female to meet her, if you ever come across her and you pass and you get to that point in my life, then it's getting serious. Because this woman right here has put in work and put in pain. Like there's our family, because like I said, I'm the only child. My mom was the only one that had me. That's her sisters. There's nobody that has put in the amount of work and the amount of effort that my Aunt Cheryl has. Nobody. She's done so much for our family, and she's done so much for me. Like, I mean, I can name so many different so many different situations that I've been in. Whether it was, living alone, whether it was needing money, whether it was, whether it was, relationship experience. She's the first person that told me, and this has stuck with me the whole time. She told me at a very young age, she was like, yo, if a female, and this is going to be a topic of discussion, and I hope to get a female on my show one of these days to talk, but she told me if a female doesn't know, or if a female has not had a father figure in her life, she will not know how to treat you. And that shit stuck with me. To this day, it's just stuck with me. And I'm like, how? And it's just like the gems that she drops is crazy. So like, I'm not gonna waste a lot of time with her because I could do a whole podcast on her. But she's the true definition of one of them ones. Like when you say is she one of them ones? She's one of them ones. And then now I gotta get, last but not least, to my heart, the soul, the reason I'm breathing, the reason I still do what I do. My mother, God rest her soul, Leslie Eleanor Wright. I'm gonna name my daughter Layla because I'm not gonna name her Leslie. Eleanor was her middle name, and I'm gonna make sure my daughter has her middle name. To carry that legacy. I mean, my mom, died in 2016. Believe it was March of 2016 that she passed. But I mean, with the things that me and her did, the things that I witnessed as a kid, with her, the times that I felt like why are you even trying to do this? Like, why are you even trying to live? I mean, my mom probably had so many times that she could have checked out and said, you know what, it's too much. Like, I can't deal with it. And she just kept going. Like, she kept waking up. She kept, like, to this day, I don't understand. Like, she kept coming every day. And it's like, I wonder sometimes where I get my resiliency from. And I'm like, it's because of her. Like, what she's done, what she was able to do, and what I can remember. And I'll tell y'all a story. Like, I didn't go home. I was living in Kentucky at the time when my mom was on her last days. And I didn't go see her. I couldn't. Because I didn't want the last memories of her, this lady right here, to be of her ill. And of her, feeling weak, vulnerable. Because the memories I had is her getting up, getting to it, going to work, even though she was sick with MS. You know what I'm saying? Going to see her in the nursing home and she's smiling and laughing, and you know what I'm saying? I'm taking naps in her bed in the nursing home, and we outside in the front lawn just talking, chilling, and I remember she came to my game against Newark Charter, who at the time was 8-2, and we battling for a playoff spot, and I went crazy. I had I think I had 3 catches for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. First time my mom ever came and saw me play. And I went crazy. So this lady right here, man, is forever, ever indebted to me. And did I cry? You fucking right, I cried. The only time I really cried by myself when I finally got the news. I knew it was coming, but for anybody that's ever lost a parent or is going through, losing a parent, you accept it, but it never is gonna register, and you still gonna always have that feeling when it happens. It's gonna be damn, I really lost a parent. Like my mom is no longer here. But what I say, and that's why I didn't go see her, because I was so appreciative of what she did that I wanted to remember the good times. I wanted to remember the smiles. I wanted to remember the times we went out and actually had that relationship. So for anybody that's ever, that even people that still have their mom, if it's good, bad, or whatever, you make sure you reach out to her. You make sure that you tell her you love her. And you make sure that you do everything you need to be as a son, as a daughter, as whatever, that you are there for them. Because that shit gonna hit real different when you finally get that call. And that call says, yeah, yeah, it happened. Because I got that same call. But now, I gotta take a drink. For me, my story is unique. So I'll say it like this. Again, going back to the perspective of why I wanted to do this podcast is because, I felt it was necessary because my story is really crazy. My story is, a lot of people know, or a lot of people don't know, few do know, from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? I was I was an only child. You know what I mean? And never had my family first. I was first generation graduate, first generation, athlete. And I just kind of like, I grew up in a very hard, rough neighborhood. The tri-state area is very close to my heart. Starting in Philly, then Delaware, and then Jersey. Obviously had some connects in Jersey, but you know what I'm saying, like I got mines. It was tough. I was always competing every day with my cousins on my dad's side. One of my cousins, obviously right now, shout out to him. Silas Stewart is now playing in Canada. He's a former athlete, former undrafted, signed to the Ravens. I was competing against him. I was competing against my cousin Alfred at the time. You know what I'm saying? And me and my pops, again, we didn't have a lot, so we was kind of living off of our family a lot, bouncing from house to house. I remember me and my pops was actually living at at my grandparents, his mom's house, and we walked in the snow. This is how much my pops wanted to make sure I was good. I was happy. We walked in the snow when Blockbuster was still a thing. We walked in the snow from my grandparents' crib all the way to Blockbuster. Now, Blockbuster from my grandparents' crib drive was about a 15-minute drive. Well, I ain't gonna say. It was probably about a 10-minute drive. So imagine a walk, and this is in the snow. But we walked that whole walk because my pops wanted to make sure that I was cool. Wanted to make sure that I was happy. And he did it. So we got our snow stuff on, got our boots, got our snow gear on, snow probably up to our calves, and we thugged it out. We walked a Blockbuster just so I could get a video game, just so I can, play my game and we could be cool and have a good time, even in the worst situations. You know what I'm saying? I grew up on Hungry Man's and Encore dinners. Y'all remember the Encore dinners. I grew up on them. You know what I'm saying? I've seen my pops steal from stores trying to get food so that we could eat. My grandmother, God rest her soul, would write notes on certain food saying we couldn't touch this, we couldn't touch that. You know what I'm saying? And I remember having, every time I go in the crib, announce that I was home. Pop-Pop, I'm here. It's me, Pop-Pop, just so he knew it was me. You know what I'm saying? Because I grew up with an old school family. They ain't play that. So yeah, it was tough. It was tough. And then obviously my grandmother passed. God rest her soul. We ended up moving with my Aunt Jackie, who's not on this wall right now. I just didn't have enough space to get everybody on. But my Aunt Jackie, who's my dad's sister, played an extremely pivotal role in my life too. She took us in. We had nowhere to stay. You know what I'm saying? We was going from like Super 8 motels, and we was living in, we didn't do the Holiday Inns. We didn't do the Sonestas and all that. We did Super 8s. We did Motel 6s. Just so my pops could scramble up enough money so that we could have somewhere to lay our head at night, and he could have somewhere to lay his son head at night. So, there was that. And then we got to my aunt crib in Newcastle, and she took us in, but I was living with my cousins at the time, and I was always envious of my cousins because they had the perfect family. My aunt, my uncle, my uncle, God rest his soul, Uncle Al. They was married, so they had all the bells and whistles, and everybody would come to their crib and do the cookouts, and we would take family trips, and me and my pops couldn't afford to go, and my peoples would have to pay for us to go, and basically sponsor us to go on the family trips because we couldn't afford it because my pops worked for the city of Delaware, he worked for the city of Newark, in Delaware, and you know what I'm saying, we just had to thug it out, and we had to get the handouts. That was the only way we was gonna eat. You know what I'm saying? There was a point in time when I was in Salvation Army for a little bit because we couldn't support ourselves. He couldn't support me. He wanted to give me the best of the best, but he couldn't do it. My pops come home smelling like, hard labor every day from working with the city. And then when he got locked up for a DUI, I remember getting a phone call from Gander Hill Prison down in Lower Delaware. He gave me the call. I was probably like 12 years old. You know what I'm saying? You get a call, do you accept the charges? You got to talk to your pops while he in prison. I remember them. So, yeah, my pops was, we had to do that. We had to thug it out. And this is all while my mom was battling her situation with that mess in the nursing homes. And I was basically spending time with my aunts on weekends so that I could go and be with that side of the family. Because, again, like I said before, my aunt or my mom or my pops was never married. With that being said, my story, why I started this and why I said I was going to do Out the Mud is because, my story is very unique to a lot of the people that I interview. Now, when it comes to the athletic side, I always appreciated and loved football. I always loved the game, as a very young age, and that's what that was cemented early. I always loved football. First thing I picked up was a football. I got stories, I got pictures of when I was young, throwing the ball around, playing in my backyard. So I always loved football, and then when I got, to Delaware and, when I got to high school or middle school, I started playing when I was 13. I was always a neighborhood legend. I would play with people in the neighborhood, and I'd go crazy and all that. But when I started playing organized ball, I was 13 because again, that's when my pops could officially afford it. And it's funny, the first time I played organized ball, I'll never forget it. I took a bus to Stanton. I was playing for the Raiders, the NCCFL Raiders. And I was out there, and we throwing the ball around, we running routes, and I'm catching everything. Boom, 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 boom. One hand, two hands, going crazy. But I didn't know the weight limit. I was just out there running, just doing my thing. Coach called, he separated everybody. He like, all right, offensive lineman, defensive lineman, come down here. So, he called me down to the O-line. And I'm like, why am I down here? I'm catching everything. Quarterback throwing me the ball. I'm the only one catching everything. I'm doing all kinds of Odell, catching everything. He like, yo, come down to the O-line. So he tell me to get in a 3-point stance. So I'm getting a 3-point stance. I'm like, yo, this feel crazy. And he like, what? And he like, put your hands like this. So I put my hands like that. He like, yeah, you going, you're going to be on the line. I'm like, on the line? I'm damn near T.O. out here. So I look at my pop look at me. One of these, we out of there. This is there's $300 to play in the league, and I quit. This is my pop's hard-earned money. He ain't got $300 just to waste. Throw it away, I quit. And from there, that's when I really started to learn work ethic. I got myself right. I worked out. I ran with trash bags on. I lost a ton of weight because at the time they wanted me to be a two-striper. And I was like, nah, I'm going to be a no-striper because a two-striper, if you was a two-striper in NCCFL, you was O-line, D-line. If you was a one-striper, you was tight end / O-line, but you could at least run some routes. No-striper, you was a skill position. You do whatever. So I was like, I'm going to be a no-striper. Lost all the weight, went on a whole diet, got my body right, X, Y, and Z. Came back the next year, tried out for the NCCFL Dragons, made the team, started at quarterback. I was trash at quarterback. Yo, oh my God. Yo, I was trash at quarterback. I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't trash. I didn't never played it before. I was always like a wide receiver because T.O. was my favorite receiver growing up. And that was when he was with the Eagles. So like I was locked into T.O. I wanted to be like him and everything. Bought his jersey and everything. So I'm playing quarterback and I'm number 7. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm Mike Vick. I'm out here going. Man, I was so trash at quarterback, yo. And I messed around in first couple games. I remember the first game of the season we played the Panthers. Got smoked by Nigel Alexander. Smoked me. I was scrambling. And he came from lit me up. And then from there, we was playing or whatever. We had some success. We got to the playoffs. I threw my first touchdown against the Mustangs. Threw 2 touchdowns against the Mustangs. That was the first touchdown I threw in the season. So I was happy about that. So then NCCFL left. Then I go to Newark, and I played in Newark for 4 years. Started as a quarterback, moved to receiver, and then I had some success, and then I got offered a scholarship. But this is where my uncle comes into play because he was kind of going with me through the whole recruiting process and everything. And taking those trips. I didn't get any D1 offers because I didn't have the grades, because I didn't understand the importance of good grades as a high school athlete until my senior year when I started getting some crazy buzz. I remember it was Conquer week 1. I had 8 for 150 and a touchdown. And I remember Bethune-Cookman in Florida. Their coach had reached out to me we want to recruit you. And this is before Huddle. This is before Twitter, all that. He hit me up and was like, yeah, I want to, he actually, crazy story, he knew my uncle. It was a coach that knew my uncle because they was frat. And, they linked up and he was like, yeah, my nephew's playing, sent him the film. And he was like, yeah, he liked that. I want to recruit him. Bethune-Cookman is D1, FCS, they're D1. Didn't have the grades. I didn't have the grades, and it was like, all right, cool. So I ended up playing at Newark, and then I got a scholarship. I went on to visit the West Virginia State and Institute West Virginia, not West Virginia University. But I got a scholarship there. Coach Kip Shaw, shout out to Coach Shaw. He called me. I was actually asleep, and he called me, and I missed the call. I called him back, and I don't think he picked up. But then he called me right back, and was like, "Yeah, this is Coach Kip Shaw from West Virginia State. He had that West Virginia accent. Yeah, we want to bring you down, see if you're interested in the visit. We saw your tape and blah blah blah." And I'm like, all right, I'll go down there because at the time our senior class wasn't really heavy in recruiting. It was a couple of us that was getting little offers, but I think I was the first one to really go viral and get on Facebook and actually take a visit. So I go down to West Virginia State. I'm chilling with the players. They take us to this party. We go. We get recruited. Whatever. They offer me. I don't see the stadium. I don't see the field or none of that. I just remember we was outside. I was chilling with the players. Went to the party. Committed the next week because I just wanted to say that I had an offer and that I committed. Didn't really have a signing day. I had a signing thing, but it was in the cafeteria. And then I went to West Virginia State. And if you know anything now, West Virginia State, shout out to West Virginia State. They're on the map now. They're doing really well. Shout out to Coach Pennington and them up there, their staff. But when I went, it was Thug University. We was getting it out the mud for real. Our practice field was behind a chicken coop. Our game field, probably after the first 2 games at home, was dirt. It was crazy. It was giving JUCO vibes. It was crazy. But I made it work. You know what I'm saying? Because I just came from that environment. I came from that environment where I just wanted to play ball. And I wanted to be the first to say I was going to college. So I remember going out there my first year, I was homesick as hell. I was so homesick. I was like, yo, this is crazy. It's mountains and don't know nobody. Everybody out here just speak a whole different language. I was messed up my first year. And I wasn't playing because it was a big, senior-led team, so I wasn't getting a lot of time. And, it was tough, but I made it work. Had some playing time later in my freshman year. End up playing my sophomore year, true sophomore, playing And then my junior year, we had a coaching change. I took over and started playing. Is where I really started learning the ideology of football and relationships. And that's when I met my what I call him now my big brother, Coach Derek Sherman, who's at Georgia Southern now. Shout out to Coach Sherman. He came my junior year, and don't get me wrong, like I love the old staff, Coach Shaw, Coach Monroe. Those are my OGs. I love them to death for giving me the opportunity. But Coach Sherm, he put me on to what football means and like relationships. And he was the first person to really like teach me the game and teach me, about constructive criticism, as a youngin. And I appreciate him for that. And he really was like one of them big brother figures. And that's kind of where the transition to coaching for me is that he told me, he kind of instilled that into me. We'd have a lot of conversations outside of football. He asked me about my peoples. They came to the games, they met them. And this was my junior year. So then my senior year rolled around. I had a really good junior year. I made preseason all conference. I get voted offensive player of the year for the team. And then, they end up leaving. Coach Sherman ends up leaving to go to Georgia Southern. So we get a whole new staff. And then this is where I really this is where the young boy got into me, because I was like, damn, like my pretty much like my OG, the one that taught me the game, is leaving. Like, this is crazy. So I was really on some rebel my senior year, and I took it out on our position coach, Coach Blau, and severed a lot of relationships there. And that's when I really realized, like, I had a good senior year in college, but it wasn't what I wanted it to be. So me and him kind of had a real hard senior year, hardship senior year. I did pretty well, but when you think of somebody who's coming off the success that I had my junior year, you would think my senior year, it's up, I'm going crazy, but it wasn't, because of the fact that I was burning so many bridges, because I was so mad at the fact, like, my OG left, you know what I'm saying? Like, one of the ones that really, like, sat me down and really, like, taught me the meaning of grind, like, he left. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna just be a rebel, fuck it. And, had a bad senior year. I mean, my record in college was 5-25. I'm not proud of that, but it is what it is. So I had to sit down with my coach at the end of the year, Coach Anderson. I asked him about, I said I wanted to get into coaching. And it's so funny, because a lot of the dudes that was trying to get into coaching, he let them get on the staff as like graduate assistants, but he told me, he was like, yeah, I got to connect for you at South Charleston High School. And at the time, I'm like, all right, cool, it's South Charleston High School, whatever, I'll start there, until I realized that he was putting the same people on that I played with that was only like there for a year, 2 years. I was there for 4 years. He was giving them better opportunity than me. And I'm like, okay, I see what this relationship thing is like now. I see what it means, because I was such a rebel my senior year, and this is my gem to you youngins out here that's playing the game and thinking that you're bigger than the game. You're not. Like, you're absolutely not. You're only as strong, the people, especially in this profession of athletics, you're only as strong as the people that you know and the people that you develop relationships with. It don't matter how much you know. It don't matter how great you think you were. If you don't have somebody that can sit up there and tell you, like, and can put their name on you, you'll never get anywhere in this business, in this field. I'm sorry. It's just, it is what it is. I'm speaking from experience. You're only as strong as the network you build. So with that being said, he pushed me to high school. I coached at high school for a year, and it was fun. I had a good time. But then I was obviously in a relationship with somebody. And this is where the whole relationship aspect of it come in. I mean, I'm not perfect when it comes to relationships. Like, I'm not at all. You know what I'm saying? By the slightest, I'm not perfect, in my relationships. And for me, it's like, so I was dating somebody at the time that I met on Instagram, and, we hit it off. Everything was cool. She actually went to the University of Kentucky. I was in West Virginia. It was like a 2-hour trip to Lexington. We would chill. And